think it's widely misunderstood. What do we mean by detachment? And people usually think that detachment would be kind of just leaving everything, or um, breaking your friendship and doing things. But in terms of what's the true art of getting to detachment, and how would we define it?
Yeah, very, very good question. This is what is the significance and what is its consequence, or what actually is the technical term we use is Vairagya, that is translated into English as detachment or renouncing, or whatever way you do it. And you are aware that, this so-called samsara chakra, the wheel of universe, which is because of three pairs. The first pair is called rag and dvesh. Rag and dvesh are passion and aversion. Certain likings we have and certain dislikings we have. So this is a kind of deposit in our mind from previous life, and that is the cause that I find myself in this world, because of these impressions in my mind I have been collecting from so many past life. Now, once I am born with this pair of likes and dislikes, so to say, and then I want to obtain what is to my liking, and I want to get away from what is my dislike. So, for that purpose, I commit certain actions, what is called karma. Of course, we do all in a sensible manner. Karma is mostly what is called righteous conduct, or we have a term called dharma. But sometimes unknowingly, or sometimes due to certain temptations, we may go do contrary to dharma or dharma. So that becomes the second pair. So the first pair was rag and dvesh. Second pair is now good and bad actions, which is called dharma and adharma. And because there is a mechanism of law of karma. If your actions are good, it brings good rewards, and that is the joy and pleasures of life. And if your karma is bad, adharma, then you get pain and misery, what is called sukh and dukh, joy and pain. So these are the three pairs, raga, dvesh, passion and aversion, and under their influence we do actions that could be dharma or adharma, good or bad actions, and then the result is sukh and dukh, joy or pain in life. Now these are six spokes of the wheel, and it becomes a wheel because the last pair was joy and pain, and once you taste it, it again leaves a deposit in your mind in the form of like and dislike, is it not? If today I enjoy something, then it leaves an impression in my mind, and I want to go through that experience again in life. So that impression is again rag and dvesh, the passion and aversion that I started with. So, these three pairs, they feed into each other, and then this means such a person lives a wonderful life. He is mostly doing good actions, dharma, but of course, unknowingly or somehow due to our shortcomings, some adharma also gets done. So, this is a general, I will say, a decent, nice human being. This is what is propelling his life cycle. And then this becomes another cycle in the sense uh, we are born, we will die eventually, and then we will be born again because those deposits of rag and dvesh are there. So I have to come again into the world to, under the influence of those impressions of my likes and dislikes, because that's what I liked. So I like to be in this world. So what our wise people is saying is If you want to get away from the cycle of birth and death, then you have to break this cycle. In other words, your further action should not bring new deposits of Vairagya and Dvesh. Is it not? Now, these actions that we are doing are called as sakam karma, in the sense I am doing into actions because I want certain rewards, is it not? Because I am being driven by those passion or aversion, is it not? So I want to get some reward or I want to be away from my dislikes. So that being my driving force, I am, you know, I am waiting for some rewards of my actions, is it not? And that being the case, this is called as sakam karma, where you are doing actions with rewards in mind. Now, this is the prominent term here is rag. So the question was about detachment, where the Sanskrit term is Vairagya, which is opposite of rag. So now this person, like in our kind of age, it is not very difficult to visualize such things. Like I am 68, and so I can very well, because I have gone through a lot of life experiences in my life. I have had 3 children, and I have done my best to bring them up. So most of the things in life I have gone. It's of course subjective, but I am centering on my own self. If I look back my life, yes, most of the actions when my children were, uh, uh, young, then I was working for a monthly salary and things like that. So all my actions were for certain rewards so that I could raise my family, raise my children, etc., etc. But now at this stage of life, most of the things, now I don't take interest in many things which otherwise were much interested in it. Or even for any adult, I will say, one simple example is the person who is now adult probably gave a lot of importance to particular toys in his or her childhood. But now if you say, are you interested in this particular toy? He will say, no, I have played with it enough. Now I am not interested in it. So now he has no likes when as a child that was very, very important for him. Now he's detached from it. So, the point I am saying is you don't say I am detached unless that detachment is very much coming from within you, then you are, even if it is there, it's fully available, but you don't care for it. That is a sign of Vairagya, detachment. And it has a last, cannot be that today you are detached from something, but 5 days later or 5 months later, you are again after that thing, is it not? So you have to weigh it within yourself if you are really in that state of mind, you know, and one sign is there, then you work, your actions are more what is called now nishkam karma. Previously it was sakam karma. You were doing actions with some results, expectations, expecting certain results and rewards. But now, because you are doing in a very dispassionate manner, but that doesn't mean you are not doing it sincerely. You are doing it sincerely, but you don't have an eye on its reward. Whatever is the consequence, it's okay. It doesn't matter to you. So, just like a surgeon is doing a surgery of a patient, now whether he's successful or he fails, he doesn't throw a party if he's successful, nor does he become sad when he is unsuccessful. If the patient dies, he is confident he did his best and he moves on to the next operation theater, is it not? because he has another thing lined up. So you can visualize certain situations where a person is functioning from in a very detached manner, you know. And of course, in our day-to-day life, like if you are volunteering somewhere, then you are functioning very much in a detached manner. So one sign of that Vairagya is whatever is the result, final outcome, it doesn't it doesn't cause a lot of fluctuation. You are in the balanced state of mind, you know. So Vairagya is said to be the very starting point for those who want to aspire to get out of the cycle of birth and death, you know, what is called liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So this is a starting point, Vairagya. And the next element is abhyas. Now that is practice, practicing the meditation and those things. But Vairagya is the very first thing.
What about to the family, this detachment?
What is
You
it?
know, I mean, mostly people are attached to the family and things. You know, so.
Yeah, that is a very, that's why I was emphasizing
Mm,
it comes from you within, you know.
mm,
If I think the moment comes when you realize that yes, you are concerned, you are interested in well-being of your spouse and your children, and you want to meet your obligations and all that, but when you are detached, you know it now, because you know, something happens in you, you somehow know it,
mm,
because now you are engaged on the what we say path of yoga and meditation, etc. So these things don't really bother you much more, you know, when you are sitting for meditation, etc. So there are certain things in your day-to-day life, and you are able to see it. You become your own observer, and you are noticing that yes, certain things used to influenced me a lot, or once I get this news, it affected me a lot, but nowadays it's not happening. But I do take cognizance of certain events. I am interested in well-being of my children, but you know, whatever is it, good news or bad news, because in the world all kinds of things going to happen. So I hear the news, but I don't get much. You know, when you maintain a particular balance, and if
mm,
there is less of fluctuation, then you know it, I am nearing to that sort of stage. That they call it a sthit prajna. Means you are now stable in your inner sense, you know.
mm.
So
So,
that's what I
so
was emphasizing. You will
yeah.
know it
So,
when you are there, you know.
so how can we, or how can I think what I see is people misinterpret detachment as a negative thing, or a sad thing, and instead it needs to be looked at as a positive thing, and more sign of how you can, be involved but still be detached, right? Because sometimes people kind of break relationships or break friendships in the thinking that they are detaching, um, right? But
Yeah.
it's not the full meaning of that.
Yeah, you are very right. There is a misunderstanding, and a misunderstanding is probably because its true meaning is not very well understood from all aspects. You know, this does not, as I was saying in supplementary question, it does not reduce your obligations. You still meet your responsibilities, you know, but you do it from your inner side. You know it, you are a different person nowadays. You know, say when your child was 10-year-old, now your child is say 30 or 35, but you are working in the same spirit, but somehow your inner balance previously, when the child was young and you were also younger, and you were not driven by Vairagya, then the results were changing your status very much. What happens to your child, that would have changed your personal status. But now, under the influence of Vairagya, your application of your force is same. So your child would not, ideally would not know it, that you are doing anything in a disheartened manner, or anything with your intentions are diminished or anything. You know, you are performing to your fullest potential, but irrespective of the outcome, your inner sense, that stability point is not going to change. So that is something only you know it, and nobody else will know it ever. So, in true sense, I will say, you know, you are now, because you are Vairagya, your personality is slightly enlightened, better. So I will say your effort will be better than what it used to be previously. So rather than saying that it is negative, I will say it is on the positive side, because you
Yeah.
are now a more mature person, so your actions are more balanced and they are better quality now, qualitatively at least. Maybe you are older, so old age may be causing some physical weakness or something, but otherwise, overall, your actions are of superior kind. So your inputs are much better, and I don't see any negativity there. You know, I have no
Um,
idea why is it. Let me
Mm.
switch off my sound. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. So more would be the word more would mean the same thing.
Actually, this
Attachment.
whole relates to, in our day-to-day life as a usual person, I am so much engrossed in the world, worldly events, worldly obligations, the things and objects. Now, as I am having my deeper looks, you know, and you call it
Yeah.
spirituality or whatever you call it, but
Mm.
basically we are now getting into the inquiry of maker of this world.
Mhm.
So now once you are probing who the maker of the world is, who has sent me into this world, and getting into that relationship,
Right.
that is opening out as avenue
Mhm.
whereby you are, that becomes the propelling force.
Mm.
Now, you are less connected to you live in the world, but you are less connected to the world,
Yeah.
because you are interested in getting connected to the maker of the world.
Yeah.
So from others point of view, you are very much in the world. you know
Mm.
they will see
Right.
you are visible in the world, but your inner interests and inclinations and many things are changing now.
Yeah.
So your priority is now building up the relationship with the maker of the world, and you want to be, genuinely in love with that entity, but that
Mm.
is not at the cost of your
Mm.
love to your spouse or children. Just like, for example, you got married, you had a child. Now you love your child, but that is not at the expense of your love to your wife, is it not?
Mm. Mm.
It's just that you have now more love, something like that. There is no conflict in love actually. So
Yeah.
now when you begin to love the maker of the world, so that's what I was trying to say. Now your love to your spouse and child is a better quality.
Right.
That's why your actions will be better. That's what I was trying to
Yeah.
explain.
Right.
Though physically you may have less strength, less force, but otherwise you are more mature, and your guidance, many other things will be better. And most important thing is, because of Vairagya, you are not losing your balance. So you don't get angry that much. You don't get into panicky situation. You know, a lot of things happen compared to what was this scenario 20, 30 years ago, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Even during the your last few days of life here, and you are not miserable. People are already who are so much attached. They are so miserable. So they're crying. They don't want to leave this earth. Whatever. So, but when you are detached, then you are calm. You are peaceful, and you are really not worried about leaving this world, these relations, these people, this. So
Yeah,
you're
that is true. But here I would like to add, you know,
mm,
just because you are detached, it doesn't mean, you know,
mm,
you want to die, you want to commit suicide. You
mm,
will still want to take care of
yeah,
your health and everything,
right.
because you know you want to
So,
contribute to the world
process,
from which we
yes.
have benefited so much
Mm,
from the society and all. So it's time to give back to the society, to the world,
mm,
the
of course.
community. So
Mm,
we don't want to cut short our life, but
mm,
sure, we know it that eventually I have to die, and you know, we have to
yeah,
die, learn to die
mm,
gracefully, just like we learn to live gracefully. We should
right.
die also gracefully.
Gracefully.
um, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Of course.
Yes, I am struggling because with Advaita Vedanta, the language itself is almost like an impediment to be able to make sense of certain things. Right now, I'm struggling if to go on the self-inquiry, the intellectual path. I'm very attracted to that. I've always been, but there is already a sense in me most of my life that this is not even real. And I don't know that how can I define real, but it's like a feeling that I've been most of my life in a movie. Okay, that's my experience. I So I'm very curious, and I have this thirst, I've always been seeking for God one way or another. And then I understand conceptually that I am Brahman, and I conceptually, but not, I'm not there by any means, okay, in the knowing, but I'm practicing. For example, I during this conversation I was getting a little bit nervous, and I was thinking the mind is nervous, and then the mind, like I'm not the mind is nervous, like separating myself from the mind, which is great.
Yeah.
But what that is doing also is that I am even more detached to from my life. But I also have like a heart, this longing for God as a devotion, as a, not like me, but it's like something outside of me. So I'm trying to figure out how I could maybe combine those two tendencies of mine. um, I think that just a service to others is where I think I have fallen short. I have done service, and I'm sure I have, I've done good deeds, but not that's has not been my tendency. Okay, that's, it's more mystical, more intellectual, and more devotional, and I would like to have a balance. And
Yeah.
yes,
Very
yeah,
good.
thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Noah. What I gather from your question is, if I could sum it up, because I would like to do it so as just to be sure, this is what your question is. As I have understood, your question is to getting to know to that Brahman, that infinite consciousness, and get closer to it. There are, one is intellectual direction, and another is direction of devotion. And then your question is, how can we strike a proper balance? Have I understood your question well?
Perfectly.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. So in our, um, so like, well, in today's context, the discussion has been going on Vairagya, where, and then we did say that we have to couple it with some actions. So Vairagya has a connotation with knowledge, intellectual faculty, that yes, it is sensible. These many years I have lived here. All my strategy was always to get away from pain and misery towards pleasures and joys of life. But still, I am not the happiest person in the world. And indeed, I now know thousands and many, many thousands of people. Nobody claims to be a very happy person. Everybody has adopted the strategy in this same plane, getting away from pain and towards pleasure, but it doesn't work out. That a wise person knows it. So the you can call it Vedic rishis or classical Indian approach has been to come up with another thing, that is what we say is trying to get away from the cycle of birth and death. And that may sound very far-fetched, but even if I make a small progress in that, that at least, because that is a genuine strategy to get away from pain. Now the basis is our, it is not an out of the world experience. It is called a deep sleep, profound, deep, dreamless sleep, which we have once in a while, isn't it? So they have identified that deep sleep as a very interesting event when I am untouched by pain, you know. So that is the motivating force. And then they say that, okay, let me try to get that same state in the daytime when I am alert. So this is why there is so much of emphasis in our philosophy to sit and meditate, where we are trying to bring our mind calm as it is found in the deep, dreamless sleep when mind is blank, nothing is happening. So that becomes our objective. So that if I master that, then in those minutes, I will be away from pain and misery. And not only that, I somehow, touch something, a base, some base, it is a hypothetical base, where I get energized, I get charged, so that throughout the day, I function in a slightly different manner, as if I have absorbed some sort of subtle energy. It's just like if you had a good sleep, your next day is much better, is it not? So just imagine once in a while, whenever you had that deep, dreamless sleep and you came out of it naturally, your day was much better, isn't it? In the same manner, if I practice and learn this technique, how to calm my mind, create a replica of deep, dreamless sleep in the daytime, then I will get an extra dose of that subtle energy, and then I will be better off in the next few hours of the day. Now, in attempting to go to that state, I need Vairagya, what we discussed, detachment, because when you close your eyes, your mind is wandering over all kinds of worldly events, worldly things. And now, if you have detachment, then that wandering is likely to be less, much less. And that will facilitate you to go into meditation. Now you want to persuade your mind. So this is what I was saying. This is in the dimension of knowledge, because you are now equipped with a high quality of knowledge that you can persuade your mind. Look, we have tried. You tell your mind, just like you very rightly said, You said, I am not nervous, my mind is nervous. So that is a very good observation. So here again, when you sit for meditation, you tell your mind, oh, you take me to all those things, and we have tried all those things. We went to those restaurants, we went to those places, we have visited, we have done all those things, but that didn't change the quality of my life. Now I want you to cooperate and let me experiment with one more thing where in the daytime I want you to be quiet, blank. So I need your cooperation. So this is you are now more knowledgeable and you are convincing your mind to cooperate in this exercise of Vairagya. So this is a knowledge direction. Now comes the devotion direction. So when I hinted that this whole journey now is inquiry, not just about the world, visible world, but the maker of the world. And that's where you want to fall in love with that entity. So that is what is devotion. And Patanjali gives three important terms. Vairagya, practice is abhyas, just practicing. And then he says Ishwar Pranidhan, that is in the direction of devotion. So these three terms, Vairagya is in the direction of knowledge, Abhyas in the direction of action, what you have to act, sit and devote some time. And then when your eyes are closed, if you are really in love with that entity, then the love towards the worldly things will not cause any obstruction, is it not? So your journey to be with that Supreme Being, be in lap with that Supreme Mother, is facilitated by these three parameters. Sanskrit term is Vairagya, Abhyas, and Ishwar Pranidhan, which go in hand with knowledge, action, and devotion. So you have put it rightly. We need a balance between these three parameters. All three are important in their place, and we need a right proportion of all these three parameters. Thank you. Very good question.